All right, what's good, people? Welcome to The Sweat. I am Emerson Lotzia, and for the next hour, we're going to do that thing you like. DFS and sports betting advice galore. NFL, check. College football with Julian, check. Tennis with young Kenneth, check. But first, it's time to throw down on the diamond. DraftKings contributors Steve Buchanan and Gary and Thorne, put up your bukes! The highest rated segment in this show's history. Steve shares his favorite MLB plays at each position. Garion either fights back, tells Steve why he's wrong, or Garion will be a coward and agree. The series in this electric USA-Canada rivalry is currently tied at 4. Steve, your pitcher tonight is who and why?
Yeah, look, I'll just be perfectly clear. This is only a 5-game slate tonight, so if Gary agrees with most of these picks, I'm not going to give him a hard time. There's not much to choose from. But look, Shane McClanahan going against the Red Sox tonight. They're obviously dealing with massive COVID issues, so this is a team to pick on until further notice. And quite frankly, McClanahan already pitched well against his team when they were healthy. 6 innings pitched, 1 run, 4 hits, 7 strikeouts, 26 DraftKings fantasy points in that start. But the biggest thing that gets me here is if the Red Sox run out the same lineup that they did last night, here's some of the numbers that those group of players have against lefties. 6 of those hitters have a 145 isolated power or less. 3 of those hitters have a WRC plus of 49 or less. That's that's not even possible, but it is apparently because they're there. 4 hitters in that lineup have a K rate of at least 21%. Literally checks off all the boxes you want tonight. He's going to be very chalky, but at this point, 5-game slate, I think you really go out of the places anyways.
Okay, how are we feeling about this one, Gary? And do you want to agree?
Well, I mean, let me start this segment the way I start every one of these segments. I will never concede. I will never agree. Ties are for losers.
Yes!
We are always going to try to overcome this. Also, we're running out of seasons, so if I keep saying tie, this might never end.
Yeah, right.
Look, this is a weird slate. It's 5 games, and the 2 most expensive pitchers are both rookies. I'll take the other rookie. I'll take Tristan McKenzie at 9,300.
Oh, boy.
You do have to take a little leap of faith here that he's not actually hurt, but I think this was just Cleveland trying to augment and save a young pitcher's arm by putting him on the IL with something made up, like shoulder fatigue. They're just trying to manipulate innings. It's fine. He's healthy. And the 3 starts he made prior to going on the IL, it really seemed like this was the transition of a young prospect pitcher into a stud. 1.29 ERA, held opponents to a 143 WOBA in that 3-start span, 33.3% strikeout rate, and most importantly, a 12-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio. That was the knock on McKenzie early in the season. He could not control his pitches. If he can control his stuff, it really looks like Cleveland's developed their 17,000th ace in the past decade. So I will take McKenzie going up against a Royals team that has the lowest WOBA against right-handed pitching in the American League at 294. This is a good matchup. It's in a good ballpark, and he's looked great as of late.
And you're saving people $800 here compared to Steve's top-priced human being. Hey, your infielder is who, Steven?
Yeah, we're going to go with Austin Riley. The Coors Field game is going to be massively popular tonight. When you throw a 12.5 game total on the DraftKings Sportsbook, that's going to catch people's attention. But that doesn't mean I'm going to steer away from it because it's going to be too chalky. It's a 5-game slate. There really isn't, different ways that you can go on this slate. But Austin Riley facing Chichi Gonzalez tonight, who's essentially the only pitcher on the Rockies staff who gets hit on the home at home and on the road. It's usually one or the other for the entire staff. Not Chichi Gonzalez. He's like, I'll just get hit everywhere. At home against righties specifically, 401 WOBA, 5.42 FIP, and a 1.5 home run per 9 inning against them. He's just getting shelled from both sides of the plate. Austin Riley has cemented himself in that cleanup spot in the Braves lineup. 5,600, it's expensive, but again, when this is projected to be almost 13 runs in a game, you absolutely want the guy who's batting cleanup for the team with the 6.5 team total. That's Austin Riley. Nothing mind-blowing here, but That's the guy I'm going with tonight.
Amen, dude. He's having a career-defining type of season, too. It's tough to go against this one, Gare Bear.
Well, again, it's tough to go against it. Steve's right in everything he said, but I will not tie. So I will just take a different great Atlanta Brave corner infielder. Let's talk Freddie Freeman at $5,900. I just think he's the better hitter. And if he's only $300 more, I'm willing to make that sacrifice. Freeman, since the All-Star break, hitting .331 with a .524 slugging percentage. He really looks like the MVP from last season yet again after some bad batted ball luck in the first 2 months of 2021. As Steve mentioned, Chichi Gonzalez, terrible anywhere. He's got a 6.64 expected ERA so far this season, an 89% zone contact rate. You do not want to allow that much contact at Coors Field, especially to a guy like Freddie Freeman. I'll pay the extra $300 and go with the better hitter.
All right, take us to the outfield, Steve. You're going back to that Red Sox-Rays game?
Yeah, look, we're going with the projected Rookie of the Year in Randy Arozarena, which feels odd because it feels like he's been in the league for 3 years now, but he is the leader of Rookie of the Year on DraftKings Sportsbook, and his numbers are just so good against lefties. He's facing Eduardo Rodriguez tonight, but you look at what Arozarena has done against lefties: 378 WOBA, 225 isolated power, 146 WRC plus, and 9 of his 18 home runs. Eduardo Rodriguez had a really tough first half. He seems like he's kind of right at the ship in the second half, but one thing that has remained consistent is that he struggles a lot more on the road than he does at Fenway Park. They're playing in Tampa tonight. Arozarena hitting near the top of that lineup, should have ample opportunity to get on base, knock in some runs. This is just a great spot for him, so taking him in the outfield.
Okay, then, Gare Bear, who are you taking?
Yeah, my top outfielder play today. Don't read MLB targets on the DK playbook because it might say something about Randy Arozarena. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter right now.
Wow.
What matters is Hunter Renfroe at $4,200. Why not save $300 and go with Hunter Renfroe? I know Steve rattled off some really good stats about how much the projected Red Sox lineup might struggle against a left-handed pitcher. Not Hunter Renfroe. This dude rakes against left-handed pitching. He's got a 910 OPS, a 144 WRC plus against southpaws so far this season. And because the Red Sox are going through COVID hell right now, Renfroe's been called upon to essentially be this team's leadoff hitter, which I did not think was going to happen at any point this season, but he's actually qualified to do it against a left-handed pitcher. So if we get 5 plate appearances from Hunter Renfroe today at $4,200, I think he can bring back a ton of value.
And you saw last month when he was catching frogs with his bare hands?
I did.
Yes.
And then I saw it again on your Twitter page. A must follow.
This is why you are my second favorite analyst on this segment. Put up your bukes, which we will wrap up here with Steve's value play tonight.
Yeah, Garion is so much better than that dork Nick Fryer who has like the weirdest backdrop in history. Look, Bobby Dahlbeck, I usually don't have hitters going against pitchers that I like tonight, but if you're looking for value on this slate, you're not going to really come up with much. The majority of quote-unquote value plays tonight either aren't even in the major leagues or don't even crack the starting lineup. So good luck trying to find some value. But Dahlbeck is coming off a red-hot month of August. 491 WOBA, 435 isolated power, and a 214 WRC plus in the month of August. Look, I mean, you just can't deny those numbers there. His ownership really shouldn't be that high either, even with all the issues going on. He's going to hit near the bottom of the lineup unless they shuffle things tonight, but he's got some good power numbers against lefties overall. So if you need some value, it's going to be hard to find. I don't like going against pitchers that I like a lot on this slate, but again, on a 5-game slate, sometimes you got to get a little wild. So yeah. Dahlbeck, we're going to get wild at first base.
Bukes, they brought in Kyle Schwarber, and it's like the Michael Jordan meme with Dahlbeck, and I took that personally. Seriously, the guy has had a tremendous August. Gary, and your value play is who? Because we know you're not going to agree with Steve.
So This is how confident I am that I've already won the first 3. Put up your bukes.
Wow.
On this slate. I'm basically just going to punt. I'm just going to be like, yeah, this guy might win, but this is more crazy than anything. Wilmer Defoe. Wilmer Defoe is my value play on today's slate. $2,100. Multi-position eligibility. You can fit him in anywhere. He makes any lineup work. The last time the Pirates faced a right-handed pitcher back on Tuesday, Defoe hit second. Now, does that say more about Defoe or the Pirates? Let's not get into that. However, Defoe does have a 111 WRC plus against right-handed pitching so far this season. That's above average. He's also a switch hitter, so when the Cubs go to the bullpen, he should still have the platoon and handedness advantage. The other big thing here's my advanced stat of the day. Keegan Thompson is starting for the Cubs. Every starting pitcher in baseball with the first name Keegan is a dumpster fire. So the Pirates should probably score a bunch of runs today. Wilmer Defoe just above the minimum, your value play of the day.
It's a good stat.
Did you know that one of Defoe's walk-up songs is My Girl by the Temptations?
Oh, even better. Even better.
I got to play him now.
There you go.
Gentlemen, you have both been tremendous this morning. Thank you so much for giving us your time today. Week 1 spreads around the NFL. Too high or too low is next, right after Ross Tucker gives us his take on the Patriots cutting ties with Cam Newton.
Oh, man.
I think one of the biggest news probably the Patriots cutting Cam Newton. And as I like to do, Andrew, I just want to give you a blank slate. Your reaction, your thoughts on the Patriots cutting Cam Newton to go with Mac Jones.
Yeah, first reaction is I've been telling you for months. I wrote it on Sports Illustrated. I've been tweeting it. I don't get the whole placeholder quarterback thing, and I do put Cam in that position, placeholder quarterback, along with Andy Dalton in Chicago, and of course, what am I missing?
G?
Jimmy G in San Francisco. So I don't get it because these guys are going to play. So my reaction was Cam was going to be a backup starting. Pick a number, week 4, week 5, week 6. So why wait? I guess the bigger question to me, Ross, and we don't have to go down the vaccination rabbit hole too much, but why is he not a backup? Why is he cut is the question I had. Does he not want to be a backup? Does Bill Belichick think he's not the right prototype for a backup? Because I think he's going to be a backup, whether it's in Dallas or somewhere else, right? So why wouldn't he be a backup? That's really the question that runs around my mind. But I'm not surprised because Mac Jones was going to be the starter sooner than later.
So, especially given the fact, Andrew, they gave him a $2 million signing bonus.
Yeah.
He's got $1.5 million of his salary guaranteed. I'm sure they're hoping that he signed somewhere else to offset that. But if you're Cam, Andrew, you're probably just going to get the minimum somewhere else. So why would you even sign somewhere else to be a backup right now? You'd be playing for free.
Yeah.
I mean, he might as well just wait until somebody gets hurt and he has a chance to maybe go somewhere and play.
For those who don't know, what Ross is saying is the guarantee is an offset guarantee. So he's making $1.5 million. If someone signs him for $1 million, that goes off of the Patriots books. And yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, Dallas cut all their backup quarterbacks. So he could walk in there, but you're right. Maybe he sits around, or maybe he waits for a contender. Maybe the problem, Ross, is I don't know about you. I don't see him starting. So if people say, well, he waits around till a starter gets hurt, they'll bring him in. Well, they'll bring him in to start? No, they'll move up the backup, whoever that is, unless he goes somewhere now as a backup and someone gets hurt. So we'll see.
Hey, Ross, a lot has happened over the last couple of days. A lot more will happen in the next couple of days as well. So let's focus on some of the big things you and Andrew touched on, like the Patriots cutting Cam Newton to go with Mac Jones as their starting quarterback.
I think the thing that surprises me here, number one, I personally thought they would start Cam because I think the Patriots are going to run the football a lot. And I thought they would run Cam a lot, knowing that they really didn't care if he wore down or got beat up or got injured because Mac Jones looked good. I thought they would really utilize Cam's body and running style early as they got wide receiver and some of the other positions settled. That is the bigger surprise to me, I think, than them cutting him. I thought he would start the opener. It is a little curious. They don't even want him as the backup. I think they don't want, Cam has a big presence. And I think that there's concerns in New England about how Cam would handle being a backup. So I think they don't want that presence and that concern about how Cam would handle it hanging over their shoulder or hanging over Mac Jones' shoulder, as the case may be.
1 week from today, a 44-year-old quarterback will open the regular season defending his Super Bowl title against a team that hasn't been there since 1996. Jeff Ulrich wasn't even born yet. Good morning to our NFL panel. The Canadian Prince of Poutine is here. His fellow DraftKings contributor, Pierce Dietrich. We got RotoWire's AJ Scholes. It's NFL high or low, guys. So with the preseason complete, let's continue to look at some week 1 spreads and how the lines have moved since they opened. Starting with the line movement from maybe the biggest news of the week, Patriots releasing Cam Newton, essentially turning the team over to rookie quarterback Mac Jones. New England opened as 3-point favorites against the Dolphins, but after the news of Newton's release, the line has dipped to 2.5. Is that too high or too low, Jeff?
I mean, I would say it's a little too low. I mean, I'm not sure why Mac Jones beating out Cam Newton would cause this line to dip. Look, we know what we had in Cam Newton last year. If the Patriots all of a sudden have a better option at quarterback, why wouldn't the line go up in the Patriots' favor, right? I think you look at this matchup, and I think it's kind of a bad one for Miami. I mean, Miami led the league in turnovers last year. I think the Patriots are going to come in with a run-heavy game plan. You look at Miami's defense, it's strong on the corners. It was middle of the pack or kind of below average in terms of rush defense, though, and I think you're going to see a lot of Damian Harris and a conservative game plan in this game, and I don't think that's good for Miami. I'll take the Patriots here. I think this one is too low.
Hey, Pierce, why did going to Mac result in this line dipping?
I can't explain it. I think the line's too low, but it really has nothing to do with Mac Jones, or at least it shouldn't, and Jeff was completely right. The story here is not the quarterbacks. It's not Mac Jones. It's not Tua. It's the run defenses and the run offenses. And if you look at the two, you see that New England has the much better rush offense that should be able to take advantage of Miami, especially with New England at home. And it's Bill Belichick with a rookie quarterback. I can't imagine they're going to come out slinging the ball around, especially when they have an advantage on the ground. So a conservative approach, they should be able to win this game. I would say, I mean, maybe not easily. Miami is a really good team, but on the ground, they should be able to take advantage and win. And really, Mac Jones is not the story here.
Yeah, Pierce, I agree. I believe the Patriots will probably take a more cautious approach. First time Belichick's ever started a rookie quarterback in the Belichick era, at least in New England. AJ, how do you feel about this line? Too high, too low?
Definitely too low. I'm with the guys here. You know, we've been talking all week about how Jones as the starter improves the Pats offense across the board. You know, the Dolphins defense has some question marks, I think at least. And I think New England could take advantage of that. Look, for me, the benefit to this line being too low is that you can look at the alternate lines on the DK Sportsbook. I would not be surprised to see the line move back up over, you know, a field goal difference. But if you want to do that yourself right now, you can get the Pats minus 3.5 and get plus 115 value on those alternate lines. So I think it's a good opportunity to capitalize on that.
How about one of the marquee matchups for week 1, gentlemen? The Browns visiting the Chiefs. This one has been up and down and all around, with the Chiefs favored by as much as 6.5 points and as little as 5.5, and now sits right smack dab in the middle at 6. Too high or too low, Pierce?
I'll go with too low. Kansas City 7-1 in openers with Andy Reid. They're 13-0 in September since 2017 and 11-2 against the spread. The Browns could hang in. They've got the run attack, and we know that the Chiefs struggled last year against the run, and they haven't made any changes, so they should struggle again this year. But I would expect this Kansas City offense, as explosive as it is, to get out front, force the Browns to play catch-up and pass the ball. At some point, OBJ melts down like always, and Kansas City covers with relative ease.
Okay, AJ, how we feeling?
I'm with Pierce on this one. Again, I would say a bit too low. You know, I don't love, as you guys know, I don't love the push option here, so I'd rather see the line at 6.5 or at 5.5. But I will say, if you're looking at those alternate line totals again, taking the Chiefs minus 6.5 only gets you minus 110 of value compared to minus 115. So I guess, you know, to give yourself a little bit of an out when you're not getting tremendously different value, might as well take the minus 6 spread here. But I agree with Pierce. I would expect it to move a little bit higher here, and maybe even push, you know, over 7 as we get closer to kickoff.
All right, Jeff, these two teams last met in the AFC divisional playoffs last year. You like this line?
No, it's too low. I mean, my whole spiel was going to be don't bet against Andy Reid in September, but Pierce already stole it. It's the off the buy thing. Nobody prepares better when he's given that much time than Andy Reid. Look, the Browns are a nice team. I think if this line got up to +7, I'd be more interested, but a +6, it's too low. And look, the Browns do have the weapons to hang in. So I think a +7, you've got to make some decisions there. And potentially that means a bet on the Browns. Nick Chubb gets going. They do have the style of defense, the kind of Tampa Bay defense with some really elite guys out there like Myles Garrett that could potentially give Mahomes trouble again, but they beefed up their O-line. It's just too low at 6 for me.
Well, the Chargers here, AJ, visiting the Washington football team. This one has moved back and forth a little bit. Washington opened as 1.5-point dogs, then moved to a 1-point favorite as a couple weeks ago. Now it's LA who is favored by just 1 point, so essentially pick them here. Bottom line, it's a close one, but is 1 point too high or too low?
I think it's about right. I mean, honestly, I'd be looking more money line overall in this one just to, take any kind of that uncertainty out of there. But, Justin Herbert put together a really solid season last year, 31 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. I haven't seen any indication that he can't do that again. On the other side of the ball, obviously, Washington, it's going to depend on which version. Do you get just regular old Fitzpatrick or are you getting Fitzmagic, right? Can Antonio Gibson take on a larger share of the rushing game and see more opportunities here and increase his yardage? Obviously, he's not going to do much on third downs. They kind of have that role already assigned elsewhere. So I have question marks for Washington, a little more certainty with the Chargers. And so from that standpoint, I think it's in the right spot to have LA favored. But I would just avoid the spread on this one and just go Chargers on the money line.
Jeff, which side do you fall on here?
I think this one is way too low. I think the Washington football team's getting a little bit disrespected here. It's the top 3 defense from last year. Ron Rivera took this team. They were 6-3 against the spread at home. And now he's going up against a rookie head coach week 1. I know it's week 1 and like the fatigue factors and thing, but this is a team that's going to be flying coast to coast for his rookie head coach's week 1 appearance. I like Justin Herbert too. I like the Chargers, but Washington's a buzzsaw on defense. They've got Gibson. Regardless of what you think about Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's an upgrade over what they had at quarterback last year. He really is. I think Washington deserves to be the favorite, and I think they should be close to a 3-point favorite. So this is, to me, the biggest discrepancy that we've talked about so far.
Pierce, do you believe Washington's being disrespected here?
I do. I'm on the exact same page here as Jeff. You've got a top 30, third best DVOA last year with Washington, and they've added players. You've got a defensive guru at head coach, and I'm a sucker for Fitzmagic. We know that Scary Terry is good. I think Curtis Samuel is an underrated receiver, and we're going to see him become a better receiver now that he has more of a focus and a decent system around him. Antonio Gibson should have a breakout this year. I like Washington on both sides of the ball. I know that the Chargers are good, but hey, you get the West Coast traveling to the East Coast. Maybe that's a little bit of an advantage as well. But I'm with Jeff. Washington should be favored in this game.
All right, guys, we have time for our last one here. Let's speed it up just a wee bit, though, please. Jeff, the Seahawks have been on a steady rise since lines opened for Week 1. They started as 1.5-point favorites, now sit at 2.5 in their Week 1 matchup against the Colts. So Carson Wentz's status still up in the air. He's got the foot thing, was on the COVID list. So is this one too high or too low?
Again, it's too low. I mean, the Seattle's just been playing possum all preseason. Haven't heard anything about them. No big injuries. They added Eskridge on offense. Yeah, they've got the rush defense to stop Jonathan Taylor. When it boils down to it, Emerson, it's Russell Wilson versus whoever the Colts are going to throw at quarterback. This one, I think, is going to get up to 3.5 by game time. It's too low right now. Give me the Seahawks.
Okay, Pierce, how do you feel about it?
Two good defenses, but this early in the season, we're going to see mistakes from both teams. So who's best to take advantage of those? And it's going to be Seattle. They've got an explosive offense. We've got to imagine if Wentz plays, they're going to be pretty conservative. They'll be good down the road with a good offensive line, but I can't imagine they're going to be able to take advantage of the mistakes this early in the season.
And AJ, it's Russell Wilson and a new look offense under Shane Waldron.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely too low. We saw this morning Wentz and Kelly and Pascal all are off the COVID list, but I don't think that really matters that much. You mentioned obviously the foot injury here, but personally, I'd be willing to go as high as -4.5, which you can get +130 on the DK Sportsbook. But if you want to be really bullish and favor the Seahawks by a full touchdown, -6.5 returns +170. I really don't hate that bet. It's maybe a little too far for me, but it certainly has some value there.
Guys, great work, but we've got to go because we have to leave as much time as possible for Kenny to talk tennis with us and the US Open. Best bets are next. All right, a man who has been calling the US Open home all week. He has ditched his roommates, including his dog. Kenny Ducey is here to talk US Open with us, sharing with us his best bets for the second and third round action. Let's start by getting your favorite bet on the men's side, dude. Novak Djokovic will play in his second round match this evening. Medvedev and Tsitsipas will get their third round matches underway tomorrow. Which top seeds are you targeting for a bet the next couple of days, or are you looking elsewhere?
Yeah, I'm not targeting the top seeds, Emerson. Still no value in targeting those matches. I think that they should all roll pretty easily. Look, if there's going to be one bet that I'm going to take today, it's going to be the match that is essentially a pick'em here between Jenson Brooksby and Taylor Fritz. This will go off at around 5 o'clock, maybe later in the East. And it's a match where you would think that Jenson Brooksby, a guy that just cracked the top 100, would not be the favorite. But he is minus 115 here on the money line. I'm going to pick him to pull the upset as the favorite, if it makes any sense at all. Look, Taylor Fritz admitted after his match against Alex de Minaur, a match that he struggled to close, that he doesn't like playing guys that, get everything back into court. He doesn't like playing players with good defense. That's what Jenson Brooksby brings to the table. This guy just hustles. He gets everything back into court. He can run into some issues with guys that have power, but the thing about Fritz is, while he does have that power, he makes a ton of errors off of both wings. I don't think this matchup is very good for him at all. It's just going to be a fantastic match. If I have to pick one side, it's definitely going to be Brooksby, though. This guy is going to be a future world number one. He will be the first man, I'm calling it, from America to be the number one player in the world on the men's side in due time. This kid's incredibly talented, incredible hard worker. I think he's going to pick up a big win tonight and excite the fans.
Is that who I saw you posting all over your Instagram story? Like, you seem oddly obsessed with him.
Yeah, well, I posted a photo of him on Tuesday night. I was also checking out Carlos Alcaraz, another potential future number one that people were talking about.
All right, good stuff, man. Let's go to the women's side here. Ashley Barty takes on Clara Towson in her second round match coming up at noon today. Naomi Osaka will look to advance in the third round action tomorrow, as well second seeded Aryna Sabalenka. Where are you looking for a bet on the ladies' side, dude?
Yeah, so I actually am looking at a top seed, and it's going to be Petra Kvitova to roll over Kristina Pliskova. I like the game spread here at minus 5.5 games. When you look at this matchup, Pliskova is not a player who has really played a ton over the last few months. She hasn't had a ton of success. And Petra Kvitova, with that big serve, you have her on these faster surfaces at the US Open. She'll play a little bit later in the day. So I'm thinking that the surfaces will dry up just a little bit, and perhaps she gets that big boost with her big serve. So I think that she can cover that minus 5.5 game spread. But other places I'm looking, perhaps Danielle Collins to pull an upset at plus 180 against Aryna Sabalenka, who is, one of the most talented players in the world. But Collins looked real good in her first round win, just sweeping Kaya Huvan off the court. And I think that she has the talent here and perhaps the crowd on her side to pull an upset. That one will go off tomorrow, but I think that that's a worthwhile pick.
Let's get you out of here with this little match prop, buddy. Could be anything, men's or women's side. What's your favorite? Please tell.
So it's I'm going to look at the Carlos Alcaraz Garcia match, and I'm going to look at the against Stefanos Tsitsipas. So I'm gonna do two because the match props really are sort of limited here. If you want to talk about first set money line, I actually am sort of interested in Alcaraz to win the first set and Tsitsipas to win the match at plus 300. I think that's pretty interesting. But I really like this over 34.5 at minus 135. Emerson. This is a kid that is incredibly talented. He has grown so much every single week. This kid continues to get better and better and better. And everyone had him pegged as just a clay court guy. This season, he's had a ton of big hard court wins. He almost won Winston-Salem last week, went to the semifinals, and he's going to push Tsitsipas. I really do think that. I know that I said Tsitsipas probably going to win the US Open. That's one of my 2 picks to win it on the men's side. But I think that Alcaraz has a good chance of winning this year. I think it goes over. He's just lighting up the forehand side, Emerson. It's just he is playing with so much power, so much finesse, so much smarts, and I think that he has the goods to win at least one set, perhaps 2 off Tsitsipas. So I'd look at that. I'd maybe look at the set spread as well. Alcaraz to win a set is minus 160. Pretty good price. I like the over 34.5.
Also, just real quick, one more thing. When you're out there at the US Open, how good does it feel to be back with like fans in the stands, that atmosphere out there? It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it's tremendous. I don't want to have – I know I have bias and I don't want to brag, but I do think that the New York fans here are some of the best in the world. I mean, the players love playing here for a reason. Yep. It is a raucous atmosphere pretty much anywhere you walk. People are committed. They stay late. They get there early, and it's just a great time to go there, and it's been an amazing, amazing experience so far. Great atmosphere all around. Absolutely.
Yeah, man, it looks electric on television. You're doing a great job. Everyone follow Kenny on Instagram. You could see him freaking out over some of these tennis players. Thanks so much, dude. A sportsbook look at what's cooking around Major League Baseball. That is coming up next. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Sweat. Early in the show, we had Garion and Bukes fighting each other about their favorite DFS plays on this short but sweet 5-game Major League Baseball slate. So let's take a sportsbook gander at what's cooking tonight. Here's our panel for this one. We got DraftKings contributor Nick Fryer. We got RotoWire's Paul Bruno and Eric Halterman. Covering the bases here, guys. Favorite DK sportsbook plays in the following categories. So first base, run line or money line. Mr. Fryer, you're up.
I wouldn't call this a pretty slate at all whatsoever, whether you're looking at it from a sports spec side or from DFS side. But I do like the Cleveland-Kansas City game tonight. We got Mike Minor going, and the Royals haven't won one of his starts since July 26th. And, you might think, maybe that means Kansas City's due. I've definitely made cases like that before. However, Cleveland is mashing left-handed pitching right now. And I know throughout the entire season, they've been kind of like middle of the pack at best. But throughout August, they did really well. And over the last couple of weeks, they have the best OPS and the best ISO against left-handed pitching. And you got a guy like Tristan McKenzie going. I know there's the shoulder fatigue issue right now. He's just coming off the IL for that. But I mean, that's just more like just give him a little bit extra rest and make sure that he's good, young guy, and he's doing really well and everything. But over August, he had a quality start in every outing. And I mean, that's kind of underselling it because only one of those outings, he gave up 3 runs in those 4 starts. And the Royals, I know when you look at DFS purposes, they're not a team that strikes out a ton against right-handed pitching. So maybe McKenzie wouldn't be the play there, but they have the worst WOBA against right-handed pitching this season, and they're second worst in the OPS and ISO against right-handed pitching. So I'm going with Cleveland money line tonight.
Paul, run line or money line you like on the DK Sportsbook?
I'm going to give you an early game story and a later game story. Of the early ones, I like the run line bet on the Phillies minus 1.5 for 100 today. And that while the season-long stats for the starting pitchers show similar ERAs, they've been headed in opposite directions of late, and I can see those trends continuing. The Nats starter, for instance, Paulo Espino, has been rocked for over his last 5 appearances, surrendering 26 hits, 16 earned runs, including 6 homers and only 19 and a third innings pitched. Meanwhile, Aaron Nola has looked very good over his last 4 starts, allowing 8 runs over 22 innings while striking out 29 and walking only 2. Their game was postponed yesterday, and the Nats are 2-8 in their last 10, while the Phillies are on a roll, winning 5 in a row. Among the night games, I'm looking for a rebound effort from the Rays, who lost a close one at home to Boston last night, snapping a 9-game road winning streak. Boston starter Eduardo Rodriguez has had a season-long penchant for allowing too many base runners for my liking. A plus 135 whip, 138 hits over 126 innings. Anytime you see more hits than innings pitched, that's a red flag for me. That's not good news against the Rays team that is built to manufacture runs too, and they do it better than any other club in the majors. Meanwhile, Rays starter Shane McClanahan enters this game on a roll, limiting opponents to 3 runs or less in each of his last 8 appearances. He's a very impressive 33-6 strikeout to walk rate over his last 29 innings. And so I take the Rays minus 1.5 for plus 120 payoff on the run line.
All right, Eric, you're up.
Yeah, I'm going to join Nick on picking Cleveland over Kansas City here. Minus 115. That's the kind of line you see if you think the pitchers are equal, I think. I think Cleveland's lineup is a little bit better. Not good, 21st in the season by WRC Plus compared to 26th for the Royals. But I would expect Cleveland, again, with equal pitchers, to be about a minus 115 there. But I don't think these pitchers are equal. I'm in on Tristan McKenzie based on what I've seen from him recently. He was demoted earlier in the year, deservedly so, had a 6.38 ERA. He was striking out a ton of guys, 31.2%, but also walking more than 20% of opposing batters. You just can't stick in the majors, let alone a rotation, if you're walking more than 1/5 of opposing batters. But since returning from that demotion, it's been a dramatic increase in his control. He's walking just 4.3% of opposing batters in 8 starts since his return. The strikeouts have dropped, but they're still actually above average at 25.8%. And he's also increased his ground ball rate by over 10%. So this is a new pitcher and really quite a good one, I think. And I'm not really worried about him missing one turn with a shoulder issue. That could easily just be a let's manage his workload kind of deal. So if you buy in on McKenzie, I think that's a lot better than Mike Minor, who is still fine. I think he's better than that 5.30 ERA suggests. FIP and XFIP both have him close to a run better than that, but that's still nothing special. Slightly below average strikeout rate and ground ball rate isn't enough to. I mean, his low walk rate isn't enough to offset those two. So I think he's solidly a back end starter. And I really think McKenzie is showing quite a lot here.
All right, guys, as we continue to cover the bases here, second base game total. Nick, which one stands out to you?
So the Braves-Rockies one was very interesting. I couldn't pull a trigger either way on that one, though. It's a tough one. It's 12.5 tonight. I know the Braves just had a tough series in L.A., and they're going up against Chichi Gonzalez tonight. The Pirates, back in their game total, or their individual team total, I was interested in that as well, but I ended up landing back in Cleveland, going over 4.5 runs tonight. Again, we talked about Mike Minor quite a bit. I know Eric was kind of making a little bit of case he's not as bad as he's been, but at the same time, still, we've seen him give up 3+ runs in each of his last 5 outings. Opponents have scored 6 runs in Minor's last 3 starts. And then I talked before about how Cleveland, how they've done so well against left-handed pitching. And when you look at the Royals bullpen too, they're like 10th and 5th, like on the bad end of that this season. And their bullpen ERA hasn't been that great either. So Cleveland has been hitting really well against left-handed pitching lately. And with the Royals bullpen not that great, I expect them getting at least 5 in this one.
Paul, game total.
I see a pretty nice pitching matchup in San Francisco with both starters pitching very well of late. The Brewers turned to Eric Lauer, who has limited opponents to a 209 batting average and pitched to a 223 ERA over his last 10 appearances. That's outstanding. Meanwhile, Logan Webb has been even stingier in throwing up 7 straight quality starts for the Giants. Over his last 10 games, the ERA is 1.6 and a whip of under 1. Is this guy Bob Gibson revisited? There's an old school reference for you, with opposing batters hitting an anemic 209 against him. Throw in the fact that both offenses have struggled in the past week, and I'll take the under 7.5 bet to pay tonight.
All right, Eric, how about you?
I'm looking at Mets Marlins. I'm over under of 7 is just quite low. I think that's the kind of number you see when you're talking about some aces. Even with lineups this bad, the two teams are only averaging 7.7 runs, so I guess you don't need to be aces to keep it under here. But man, to be under 7, has it just moved up to 7.5? No, under 7. Man, so you need it to be 6 runs to hit that. I'm just not at all confident in that. Carlos Carrasco was really bad in his first 4 starts back from a hamstring injury, ERA north of 10. Does have a 3.75 ERA over his last 2, so maybe he's fine. But if you take that whole picture together, just striking out 23% of opposing batters after striking out at least 28% over the last 4 seasons, this is not close to the Carlos Carrasco we've seen for the last several years. Given how many injuries he's dealt with this year, I don't think that's at all a surprise. So he's not the kind of guy I would expect to regularly be leading to game totals below 7. Zack Thompson, on the other hand, 3.16 ERA in his first 13 starts, but doesn't look particularly sustainable to me. FIP is up closer to 4, and his xFIP is up north of 4.5. Doesn't strike out a lot of guys. Not terrible. 20.2% is, though, a few ticks below league average to go with about league average walk and ground ball rate. So there's really nothing that stands out in his profile, which is to be expected. He's a 27-year-old rookie who was a fringe prospect at best with an ERA north of 4 in the minors. So these just aren't the kind of pitchers that I would expect to hold even offenses this unimpressive to 7 runs or less.
Paul, let's go to the hot corner. Player prop.
I'm going to go back to the Boston-Tampa game. Looking at a pitcher in this one, I'll be looking for Shane McClanahan to hit the over on 6.5 strikeouts against the Red Sox. He fanned 7 of them in a matchup earlier this month and has been right around that number in most of his last 10 starts, so I feel good about that. And I also like the A's Freddie Montas to hit the over on his 6.5 strikeout prop against the Tigers. He's been better than a strikeout per inning guy all year long, and comes into this one, for instance, fanning 75 over his last 62 innings pitched. He gets plenty of help from the other team that is one of the worst in terms of striking out in the major leagues as well.
Eric.
Yeah, I'm liking a lot of the home run props for Atlanta. It's Coors Field. That's a pretty good start, and they're going up against Chichi Gonzalez, who's exactly the kind of pitcher you want to make home run props against. 6.08 ERA, but specifically he gets that ERA by allowing a ton of contact. 13.2% strikeout rate is the lowest among pitchers who've thrown at least 90 innings. You might think a guy who whiffs nobody keeps his job because he keeps the ball on the ground. That's also not true. His ground ball rate is under 40%. So really any of these Braves guys, Freddie Freeman, I think in particular, seem to have surprisingly decent odds. He's at plus 250 to homer. That's better than, say, Austin Riley at plus 200, Adam Duvall at plus 180. So that seems like the best of the group, but really any of those guys seem fine to me.
All right, Nick, player prop, please.
Anytime a Keller is pitching on any given night, I'm instantly looking at their hits allowed prop, and I'm going to go with Mitch Keller tonight, giving up at least 5 hits, 4.5 over on DK Sportsbook. I know he's going up against the Cubs, and I know they don't smash right-handed pitching. That lineup obviously is not great. They've had some days. The biggest thing, though, is Keller has given up 6+ hits each start in the past month. And then when you look at the Cubs, they hit this over against Lance Lynn, against Tyler Mahle, against Dylan Cease, and they pushed it on other guys too who are maybe a little bit better, like Corbin Burns. So I think that it's very much within reach for the Cubs to at least get 5 hits tonight against Mitch Keller.
All right, guys, we are out of time here, but everyone watching, tons of really good MLB odds boosts available right now on the DK Sportsbook, so go check them out. Again, only a 5-game slate tonight, but there's some good little boosts opportunities for you. We are going to talk college football. Big weekend ahead, really like week one, opening weekend. We'll talk with Julian Edlow coming up right after this. Huge weekend around college football, week one. And we've got a huge DraftKings contributor here to help us out. Look at some of the top games. Julian Edlow, good morning. How are you?
I'm great. College football is here. We got a Thursday night play, and it's a big one.
Really? Is it?
Yeah.
Is it the UCF Boise State game?
No, we don't care about that one.
This isn't college football week one preview, though. Your favorite bets from the following games on this college football slate. I had to introduce this segment properly. So a bunch of games on the schedule for Thursday and Friday this week. Ohio State opens their season. You got ranked teams like North Carolina, Arizona State, Utah, and more. What's your favorite bet on any of these games before we hit the weekend?
Well, I'll certainly have my eye on that Ohio State game, but we're going to NC State here against South Florida, a South Florida team whose win total sits at 3. Their outlook is not very good on either side of the ball, and you have an NC State team that returns their top 3 running backs, returns their top 3 wide receivers, has a veteran offensive line, brings back 10 starters on defense. This one, to me, I think that NC State is going to throttle South Florida. Offensively, I think they're going to shut them down. Defensively, I am not afraid of the big number at 19. We are laying it, and we are laying it so confidently that you will see this play many times on Twitter on Thursday. And if it cashes, I will be giving away 5 $100 free bets on DK Sportsbook. So You should do things like follow me at Julian Edlow. You should do things like follow the Unreasonable Odds podcast.
Yeah.
We've got a new Twitter handle this week at Unreasonable Odd. We, of course, ran out of room for the S, but It doesn't matter. Go follow it. When NC State covers this spread on Thursday night, we will be giving away 5 $100 free bets on DK Sportsbook on Friday. So keep an eye out for that.
Why did you guys drop the S? Was that already taken?
It didn't fit. It doesn't fit.
How's that possible? My name is it's just as long as Unreasonable Odds.
All right. Well, maybe I need to go talk to the social team then.
No, I love them. I love them.
You know why it's Unreasonable Odd? Because there's not 2 of us anymore. It's just me. Steve Buchanan doesn't even do the podcast anymore. He's lazy. He does whatever he wants. Yeah. I'm doing all the heavy lifting over here.
It's true. You are everything to us. This company is nothing without you. Let's look at Saturday here, dude. We're the defending champs. Number 1, Alabama, opening its season against 14th ranked Miami on Saturday. So Alabama here favored by 19.5 points in this matchup. It's worth noting, since 2010, Nick Saban's squads 9-2 against the spread in their opening matchups. Do you think the Tide cover again?
Well, I'm a huge Bama guy. That's no secret. And it's interesting, like the 9-2 number, that's great. A lot of those are steamrolling lesser competition. And now, you see a big number. This is a big spread, but it's against a ranked team in Miami. It's against a good team in Miami. However, the Canes have De'Aaron King coming back from that ACL injury. We have some questions about them. I'm a little down on Miami. So I will never bet against Alabama. Put it that way. If you made me bet this spread, I'm taking Alabama. I may look to do something like, we know how much more profitable Alabama first halves have been over the full game, because Alabama just comes out, punches you in the face, and then can maybe let their foot off the gas a little bit late. So I'm maybe looking to get that first half line on Saturday if I make a play on this game specifically.
Yeah, and the Tide opening the year as the betting favorite on the DK Sportsbook, despite losing 10 players to the NFL, which seems to be the
They
story
just
every year.
keep hitting the refresh button
Right?
and bring them back in.
It's incredible. It really is. Another marquee matchup here, Jules, on Saturday sees number 3 Clemson and number 5 Georgia. Both of these teams have national title aspirations, so it's a big one right off the bat. Clemson is a slight favorite here, 3 points. You riding with the Tigers or going with the underdogs, the Bulldogs?
I'm going to be honest. This game has my brain in a pretzel. I have Georgia plus 3.5. I've already bet that. I might do a rare flip-flop by the time Saturday night comes. That's how split I am on this game. But I'm happy that I have the field goal with the hook because I'm very much thinking about now going to Clemson. It's minus 150. I think it even moved to minus 140 on the money line. It's going back and forth. If I can get Clemson in that minus 140 range on the money line, I'm going to do it and make it a bigger bet than Georgia plus 3.5. So that if Clemson wins the game, I profit. And maybe by some miracle, Clemson wins the game by 3 and I cash both of those tickets. I really want to like Georgia. I'm an SEC guy. I think that Georgia is going to be better this year and obviously have a shot at being in this college football playoff. I don't let other people sway my opinion, but every smart person I'm talking to is saying how cheap this is for Clemson. I had Matt Humans on the Unreasonable Odds podcast yesterday. That came out today. He made 10 bets for week 1. 9 underdogs, 1 favorite. The 1 favorite, Clemson minus 3. I do a show on Sports Map Radio promoting DraftKings Sportsbook, the Diehards, on Wednesday night. One of my co-hosts, Chris Thurston, his best bet of the weekend, he's on Clemson minus 3. We had Kenny White, the Wizard of Odds, on the show. He loves Clemson minus 3 as one of his best bets of the weekend. In his magazine, he actually has Clemson winning the game by 14, which is a little generous, but still. I don't know, man. Maybe Georgia's not proven enough. They're going to be without one of their best wide receivers in Pickens. The reason I was going against Clemson, DJ, the quarterback, he lost a big game to Notre Dame. He was losing 28-13 to Boston College in his other start. And, Clemson roared back and did win that game. Maybe Clemson is polished enough. Maybe the defense is good enough. The offense has an advantage over Georgia where I just need to go Clemson here.
Yeah.
I'm still figuring things out, man.
I know you are, dude. It sounds like your life. We have 2 more to go. Pick it up for us because we want to clip these off and send them out to Twitter. You can put them on your new Twitter bio that you have, your new Twitter account. Another primetime game on Saturday. You're welcome. Another primetime game on Saturday features number 16 LSU and a team a lot of people are high on this year, UCLA. Bruins have already played this year, defeating Hawaii last week. Wow, 44-10. LSU only favored by 2.5 points here. Should they be worried about this UCLA team on Saturday night?
No, they should not. I will give you a strong, firm take on this game. I'm playing LSU minus 2.5 or LSU on the money line if it gets cheap enough for me. Actually, minus 140, we're going LSU money line. We'll keep it safe. I love that UCLA looked great against Hawaii in that opening game. And money has come in on them. This spread was 4. We're getting past some key numbers here, obviously at 3. So for me, UCLA throttled Hawaii. That's great. Chip Kelly still has been awful in his tenure overall at UCLA. And now you have an LSU team that people are kind of finding a way to fade. The Hurricane narrative, they've had a tough time. Sure, but they're ready for this game. Coach O is one of the best coaches in the nation. He's gotten plenty of experience of high competition under his belt in the SEC. This is a team that, 2 years ago, 15-0, arguably the best college football team of all time. They come back, have a down season. They only returned 2 starters, but they ended the year upsetting Florida as a 20-plus point dog and beating Ole Miss. Now they return 18 starters, 9 on each side of the ball. They have good quarterback play. I think that LSU, over 8 wins, one of my favorite win totals of the season. I think this team's going to go about 10-2, including a big win on the road against UCLA on Saturday night.
And because Sundays are for Christians, one game that day, that's number 9, Notre Dame visiting Florida State. The Seminoles losing to the Irish last year, but there's a lot of new faces here on both sides entering this season. Notre Dame favored by 7.5 points. Can Florida State keep it close, Jules?
Yeah, these teams have so much turnover that I think this is a good game in certain ways to sit back and watch. But hey, it's the only Sunday night game, so we'll probably get something in on it. And I'm going to the dog. I'll play Florida State at home plus the touchdown and the hook plus 7.5. I like getting that number there. And this one has been bet down. People are fading Notre Dame. I think maybe some money comes back in. Notre Dame's a very public team, so we could see this number. This might be one to wait and bet later after some Notre Dame money comes in. But yeah, Notre Dame is bringing back like 4 or 5 starters. They lost their quarterback that has started the last 30 plus games for them in Ian Book. There's a lot of turnover here for the Irish, and they get a tough road test to start the season. So if not that, Florida State is in line for the best season. They have some offensive line concerns, but there's talent on that team for sure. And they got one of your guys coming in there to play quarterback for him. So hopefully Milton is healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I like taking the underdog here at home, getting more than a touchdown.
Yeah, good old Mackenzie Milton, man. Had that gross injury at UCF. Wish him the best. Don't wish for FSU to win, though. Okay, dude. You're out of here. You're done. Sorry, it's just like a rivalry of Florida thing, Anywho, have a good weekend, Jules. We're going to miss you. I'm sure we'll talk to you tomorrow. So see you then. 6-game Madden slate coming up next. And don't forget the slate, 5 o'clock, Kaufman and Reed. They will talk your faces off. See you guys later.